Hello and welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly video game podcast releasing every Thursday and Fridays now. If you're just joining us, welcome. We have been reviewing the Halo the series over the last couple weeks, and the fun keeps rolling here. We're on episode 3, which is called Emergence, which pretty on the nose for what happened in this episode. But before we get to our thoughts on the episode, we're going to spoil everything, right? This is a full breakdown of the episode, and I do that with two of my favorite people. We have Andrew Reiner, the editor-in-chief of Game Informer. Hello, sir.
Hello, Alex.
Hello, indeed. How are you today?
My headache from watching the episode is gone.
That's good.
So yeah. I've had some coffee. I'm doing a little better.
Okay. Are you feeling like Chief when he touches the artifact, basically?
Yes,
sure.
And I don't have any pants on.
Perfect. Yeah. Also, Brian Shea is with us, hopefully wearing pants, but also has something that the show... you have something that the show doesn't, which is Master Chief's helmet.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, if you've forgotten at this point what Chief's helmet looks like. Yeah, that thing.
You ruined the show, Brian. Give it back.
Oh, I love it. I love that the internet's clamoring for Chief to be back in armor, and they took it one step further away and made him completely naked. But we'll get to that. Yeah.
After we stopped recording after the first episode, you were like, all right, are we going to see Chief naked? Somebody asked that. And I said, somebody said, oh, you're going to see like his back. And I said, nope, he's totally hanging dong in this series at some point, and we almost got that.
Yeah,
so
close. There was a nice little. They did a nice little mirror trick to cover it up. So, Chief's business isn't the only thing that was hanging out in this episode. We finally it dashed my fears last week. I was hoping that we would get to Cortana, and we finally did. But we'll get to that in a second. We're gonna go, kind of beat by beat in this episode. So, this week, Chief has been returned to Reach. Right, he left Quan in the protection of Soren on the asteroid belt colony thing, and he's back with Halsey. He is trying to figure out what the artifact is, and Halsey finally has the opportunity to use Cortana in the way that she wants. So, but before we get to all that, we open on this oppressive planet. Child labor is rampant, very dark and scary and all that kind of stuff. And it focuses on these two kids reading a book, the Covenant attack, and it basically becomes Make. And I don't know if that's her name. I haven't heard it in the show, I don't think. But the character with the gray hair, right, who's working with the Covenant. It's her origin story of her friend getting brutally murdered by some dude with a baton, and then the Covenant come and save her and stuff like that. I don't know, gents. Did any of this land for you?
No, absolutely not.
No.
It's like, what did they see in her, other than her just not blinking when a gun's being pointed at her or not freaking out? That's what they were looking for?
I think
a brave child.
They're like, cool. We finally found one. We've been to 50 worlds. Yeah.
We've been traveling the cosmos, pointing guns in children's faces to see if we could find one that won't flinch.
They all scream, except for this one.
Her whole story, like at this point in the book, again, it's like, that's our connection. Like, oh, that's her.
Yeah,
she's the human that reads.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah. So we kind of get more of her origin. They're building it up that she has the same force, sight abilities as Chief, right? I think that's kind of where they're going with that. Reiner, you said last week you think that's going to be like a love interest type of thing.
Oh yeah. By the end of season 2, he's going to be like Father Chief or Master Dad or whatever.
Master Daddy.
Because now he's feeling things, and you know where that's going to go.
I didn't get to that. We're going to get to that because I laughed out loud at one of these moments.
But, me too.
So we go through that. We get her origin. And I think that scene in particular is just, it's a, not amalgamation. What's the word I'm looking for? It just encompasses the show, right? Where the writing is just not there. Everything feels very heavy handed, like trying to show you how brutal this world is. But it just comes off as, and maybe we're not looking at, like, maybe I'm too up my own butt about like prestige television, which is entirely possible, but it just feels so hammy at times. So, but anyways, so we go through that, go through the intro of the show. Halsey starts talking to her clone. The clone is awake now, and she is, very sentient, right? She's kind of challenging Halsey, and they're kind of prepping for the extraction of her mind, basically, to go into Cortana. Halsey continues to be the best part of the show in my mind. I think the actress who plays her is genuinely
she's
great.
awesome.
Yeah. And anytime she's on screen, I really enjoy her work, and that's when I'm most engaged in this show. So like the clone thing kind of came off weird at the start, but when they started the talking, I was into it. It was definitely different, but I didn't think it was bad. I was like, okay, she has a bit of a challenge here. I like that, maybe more than she was thinking. And it kind of sets the table, and it continues to set the table for like Halsey doesn't give a crap. Like she's gonna do whatever she needs to. She's literally gonna kill her other self basically to make this work. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say about that.
The scientist tried to kiss her.
Oh, I was gonna get to that. Don't believe me. We could jump right into that because they just go. They then set the scene right. Chief is back. He's gonna be implanted with Cortana, and there's the bizarre ass like creepy assistant thing. Like he's Igor now, right? Where he's like, "You have such a beautiful brain," and then he like goes to kiss the clone. I was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, why is this? What kind of choice was this?
What is the payoff that they're going for later? Like, what is the whole point of that?
That's one thing I want to bring up to what you were saying about like the writing not hitting. They try to make you care about these characters in different ways. Like that whole backstory of Mackie, whatever her name is. They want you to care. Like, oh, she had it rough. Like. She's not just this evil brainwashed person. She had a history, and it's like, no, none of this is working.
Right.
And then this one, it's like, he's the assistant, but oh wait, there's a dark side to him that that's going to come up. It's like, no, like it's out of left field. It just feels like so forced and just weird.
And it's distracting from the feel of Halo, which is something we've talked about a lot. I think this episode, there's parts of this that like get it close, right? But it is these weird distracting elements that like don't feel like they fit in this world. And it's like that assistant character could have just been a total side thing. I never needed to hear from him.
But now he's in the spotlight for a very strange reason. And are they going to follow up on it? I don't know.
And like, right? Is that just like is that just going to sit there or what? But like, there's an infatuation with Halsey there. I would imagine it feels like it's going to be like if he's going to go into a thing where, if I'm guessing right, if I can't have her, no one can, and then Chief has to save the day, something like that. Sorry to stress you out there, Shea.
So everything that you guys are predicting is just stressing me out more and more. Like, all right, Maki and John are going to have a romance, or that weird scientist guy is going to kidnap Halsey or try to like take Cortana offline because of it's. Every prediction is more stressful than the last.
So after the weird half tried to make out thing, they do the Dead Space thing where they hook Chief and Halsey's clone up to these chairs, right? Tables. And it gave me, I didn't want them to show it, but they hook her up and they get a needle basically, and that's how they like extract whatever they need out of her brain, but it shoves right in her damn eye, and I was like, oh no.
I liked the computer visualization of her brain just being sucked through the needle. It was like, what are they depicting there? It's not actual brain matter. Like, is it just like what was
Essence,
the whole point of that?
I'm sure someone in the comments will know what was sucked out.
Data, information,
but shaped in the mold of a brain. So
I was like, oh, that's brutal. But so they suck the brain juice out of her through her eye, which eyes are off limits, man. Please, no more eye stuff. Anyone. And they finally implant Chief with Cortana, and this is the first time really in the show that I've like kind of been like, oh, okay, finally we're getting some sense of Halo, right? And Jen Taylor reprises Cortana. I know a lot of people were down on her appearance. It didn't bother me a ton, especially seeing her in action and hearing Jen's voice. I was like, okay, this is Cortana. This feels good.
Yeah.
What did you Reiner, we can start with you. What do you think of Cortana's introduction?
I thought it was fine. Yeah, I thought all that stuff worked pretty well. I was, like when you have Halsey with the blonde hair and then Cortana has the black hair, I was like, what? Where was the decision there? I guess it's just to differentiate them a little bit more, even though they're kind of the same, right? One and the same to a degree.
Yeah.
But I thought, she looked fine. I like the voice acting. I like the interaction with Chief at times, especially with her crew or with his crew, where she's just kind of like, hey, just want to say hi.
He's like, no, go away. Yeah. Shea, how about you?
Yeah, I thought all that worked.
Yeah, so I really liked hearing Jen Taylor's voice because, like, it's one of those things where it's like, all right, as good as we like Natasha McElhone, I think is her name, is how you pronounce her name, as Halsey, you have to have, like, the iconic voice. And, like, we saw that, like, hearing the actor as Master Chief, I forget the actor's name.
I'll find it, but yeah.
But hearing him as Master Chief was a little jarring at first, but I got used to it. But also, you hear Cortana's voice in the game a lot more than you hear Chief's voice. So I think it would be a little bit more difficult. But, like, it goes back to what we were talking about in the first episode, where it's like the authenticity in the sound effects are like a nice little nod that people like in the first episode when Chief's shield recharged, like that was a really great nod, or like hearing the Covenant and the Elite like talking to each other and like sounds right out of the games. Like, I'm all about that. And I think that Jen Taylor is an important piece. It almost kind of reminds me of another thing that hit this week, which is the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, Sonic 2, where, they had Ben Schwartz come in, and, his voice naturally sounds a little bit like the other Sonic voice actors. So it wasn't that big of like a difference. Then you have Idris Elba as Knuckles. And it's like, all right, we have these two like Hollywood stars. And then they got Colleen O'Shaughnessy to voice Tails, who she voices Tails in the games and the TV series as well. So it's like, it adds that little extra layer of authenticity when, like, even though the other stuff doesn't sound like it does in the games.
Right. Yep. Pablo Schreiber, by the way.
Pablo Schreiber. Okay.
Schreiber. Yeah. And actually, I did think that he had the best line of the show so far when Halsey was like, "I've introduced Cortana to your brain. Would you like to meet her?" And he's like, "Not particularly. Like, I don't want anything to do." I was like, that was a good moment. I liked that.
And I could hear Chief like initially saying that, obviously things changed over the course of his time with Cortana, but like I could see a super soldier who is like so thoroughly brainwashed by the UNSC to like not want anything to do with this AI that just got implanted into his head.
Right. So I actually think it progresses as the episode goes on, but I do think the Chief Cortana interactions have been in this episode are giving me a little bit of hope, because it does feel a little bit more of what I love about Halo. So, but before we get to that, there is a cutaway to Quan is still on the asteroid colony with Soren. Bad things are happening in Madrigal, and she wants to go back. Soren's like, nah, John told me to keep you here. You have to be safe. And she is rebelling against that. This is my least favorite part of the show so far. I don't care about either of these characters, and I think it distracts from what the potential is there of Chief and Cortana together. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
This whole plot thread it's expired at this point. Like I don't care. Like, follow Chief and then he can go back.
Right.
We don't need to see what's going on back there, is in my opinion. Like, I know they want to keep these characters front and center, but it really does feel like filler content until he comes back. Finding out what's going on. We already knew what was going on over there. So yeah, I don't get why we keep going back there at this point.
Right. I mean, it's going to be the justification of those characters, right? They're going to go back to Madrigal and stop Finch, which I didn't know his name until this episode, right? They're going to prove, Soren's going to prove he's still a great Spartan. She's going to prove that she can, be reliant on herself, like that kind of stuff. Like,
unless they're building up something with Soren again, I don't know. Her story, we know exactly what she wants to do. Right. They just keep banging that drum.
There was this weird moment too, where it's like they spent the whole other episode like kind of developing him as kind of the guy. He's the guy, he's like, the Chief, what are we doing here? Like, oh man. But then he was like, yeah, you could go, or I could crush your skull. And I was like, wait, where did that come from? What
is like, are you changing something? Then he's like, I'll see you at home. It's like, all right.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Another struggle for the
see you for dinner.
We're eating chicken.
Like chicken for dinner or something like that. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, I guess
puzzling.
So,
Yeah, I agree with you. Like they could be jettisoned to space, and we lose nothing.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when Chief is on screen, I'm like, all right, I'm paying attention. I'm like seeing what's going on. When the Covenant are on screen, it's maybe slightly less attention because like there's like some weirdness happening with that storyline as well. But then when like Quan and Soren and the Madrigal situation comes on, I'm like, maybe I should check my email.
Well, and I think
There's some development with the Covenant this episode. Before it was like, we must get the ring, and it's like, okay, and then it was the next episode, we must get the ring, and you're like, okay. And then this one, we must get the ring, and they're like, oh, we're making motions to do that.
Right. I think the hard part is it distracts. Yeah, like we said, it just distracts from the interesting stuff of getting to the ring, showing more of the action and that kind of stuff. So speaking of the Covenant, we also get a scene with Make. I'm just going to choose to call her that until someone tells me it's wrong. She has, emerged in her Covenant ship. She's Trojan horsing things and convincing. She meets up with a UNSC ship. Right. She's like, please help me. Like, I've been captured. The ship died. Like, I'm the only one left. Like, blah, 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 blah. She convinces these poor people to let her on the ship. All the while having a hunter at her back, which I actually thought was a pretty cool sequence. She gets on the ship and kind of does like the evil, like, and then like the deconstructed hunter or whatever, not in armor, comes and murders everyone, just disgustingly, like nightmare fuel, like slithers around everywhere. And I actually thought that was an interesting sequence because we usually see hunters as in their armor, right? Like, and so I thought this was a cool sequence. I don't know.
It was, but like, would it have been any worse if it was just like a hunter, like even if it was deconstructed at first, and then like came together and then like just blasted everyone? Like that would have been probably even more visually stunning.
Right. And I would imagine that would probably have boosted the budget to $15 million instead of 10. You know what I mean?
I don't know how hard is it to animate like 100 different little worm things?
True. Touche. Yeah. Instead of one just like conjoined like thing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe some explosions added to the mix, but like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I thought it was a cool sequence. I thought it worked really well. Like the whole concept of it, like they had their guns. I mean, again, only Spartans can hit things with guns apparently, or only their bullets do stuff.
Yeah.
And then the slow walk was a little much, like I'm a badass strut down the middle of the hallway as the worms are eating stuff, but or strangling them. I don't know what they do to them, but
yeah, they were crushing them. Where did all those people? Yeah, I'm sure it's like an anaconda. It wraps around you and just like breaks your skull.
Yeah, but I liked it. I thought the CG was great. That's the best part of the show is the artists are just knocking it out of the park. Like all the cityscapes and locations and then the creatures. It's all great.
And I think that's why it's this show. Like this episode is definitely better than the second episode.
Unequivocally.
But like that's what's so frustrating to me about this show is like the visuals are so great and like everything looks so like real, like the perfect translation from the games to like live action, but then the story and like everything that's happening just and the way they're doing some of these characters just makes me upset because it's like it looks so much like the games, like how I would want to see them translated in live action, but those are not like the characters in those outfits,
Right.
I think it's frustrating because they're so close visually, but then like from a writing perspective, they're just such different characters.
Yeah, I think the problem, I think I said it last week, but like it really feels like the problems DC had when they were trying to bring their movies or bring their stories to film, right? Marvel took 10 years to build out those stories and make you understand why you should care about these people. And then they got into like, it took a little bit for us to get into Tony's darker side in Iron Man, right? Like that kind of stuff. And that felt earned, right? This doesn't feel earned yet. The other problem is I think this show works better if it's not Chief. And I think if it's the story of this unnamed Spartan who's trying to find his place in the world, right, and trying to figure out how he fits into this, like I think this gets a lot better. But because we have such an established idea of who Chief is and this show's not hitting it yet, that's a problem. Like,
yeah, he should have been a cameo role just every once in a while showing up in a battle and you're like, oh, there's Master Chief. Yeah.
There's a cool way where the show has him as this mysterious figure, right? And he's maybe not even revealed till the end, right? It's like, oh, like the Covenant's winning, what happens? And then he freaking like drops in and kicks ass and stuff. But
Yeah,
that's not the show we're getting right
there
now.
could have been a moment like the end of Mandalorian season 2 where I won't spoil what it was in case nobody's seen it, but like
right.
Where you're just like, oh my god, and you're just basically like cheering on your couch.
Yeah, for real. And I'm like, they still have that opportunity. I don't know how many people are gonna be cheering if like, blue team dropped in or something like that. I would be excited. But like regardless, so speaking of humanizing Chief, he gets butt ass naked. He's strutting it all, which, Pablo looking good. Man's a stud. Let's just call a spade a spade. But he's cutting out his emotional receptor or whatever it is they've implanted in his back to make him not feel anything as he's murdering and saving the galaxy. This is a good opportunity for Cortana, and this is another good Halsey scene, right? She's playing the game, she's playing the the marionettes. She is, because Cortana very much is a spy at this point. She is not a partner to Chief like she wants to be, or she has said she wants to be, right?
She answers
at
to
least
Halsey.
to Chief.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. She is there to serve Halsey, and she's mad that she can't fully control Chief. Halsey has put a block on that. But so in an ability to convince Chief that Cortana is on his side, she helps him cut it out. And I almost wanted like Mr. Blue Sky to start playing after that, because he's like walking around like looking up into space. He's like, oh, I feel things for the first time. And
I hope somebody does that. Like I hope somebody makes like a super cut of
Sky,
that.
Please tell us why you've had and I was like, okay, I get this. This is hammy as hell, but like,
I laughed my butt off.
The moment that got me was when he was like looking at the violinist and he turns and there's a dog and his eyes just go like big as like a dog.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I do the same thing when I see a dog.
Yeah. Shea goes, oh, and that has a total like memory, like, oh my God.
Ask anybody that I'm in a conversation with when like we're walking or like at like a coffee shop or something and a dog walks in, like I immediately stop paying attention to the person I'm talking to.
Fair. So maybe that's more realistic than we give it credit for. But it was just another moment where it's like, oh man, this is how you're doing it, huh?
Yeah, when he's about to tear up listening to Space Cellos, I was like, is this really happening? And then the dog came running in and I was like, I was on the floor. I was like, this is as bad as it could get. Like it really is. And you know where it's going. And I'm totally right. I have to be that he's gonna have emotions for either Halsey or Mackay, right?
Yep.
Like, and I bet it's Mackay because they keep building her up.
Yeah.
Right now you think she's a bad guy, but you've got some history that she was an innocent human at one point.
Oh my God. I just saw a flash of what's going to be. It's going to be his mission after like Mackay attacks different UNSC. His mission is going to be to take her out. Cortana's going to be pushing him to kill her. And he's going to be like, no, we can save her.
They did that in the first episode. No.
It's going to be another one of those.
No.
But this time it's going to show an antagonistic relationship between Chief and Cortana. Yeah. And then eventually Cortana will see it Chief's way. And then they'll be like, oh, this is the moment Cortana kind of went rogue. And it's like, oh no, we're already to that storyline.
And then season 2 is coming next year.
Season 2, and she has control of the Prometheans.
Yeah. Don't even say that name. Oh my God. I hope they don't even know Prometheans exist.
We're already getting it to that. We're gonna have like one episode of the Flood, and then we're gonna rush right into Prometheans. Like, great.
And then we are gonna rush into another discussion because I'm not talking about that. They don't. I wonder if it's an over-reliance on the idea that we know who Chief is already. So it's like they're expecting us to buy into, like, he's already been through the hard stuff, right? So now we can show the humanizing side, but it's just not working for me. But anyways, so he rushes back to the artifact. There was a scene earlier where he touched the artifact, and it was interesting because I actually glossed over this. Cortana takes over right in that moment when he's like touching the artifact, and the artifact shuts down. So the artifact is sentient enough to understand when it's John versus someone else.
Yep.
So that's another reason why Halsey can't eliminate John from the equation, even though I know she doesn't want to, right? John is her baby. And so, but then they come back to it. He goes even harder into it. He really focuses in, and the vision becomes, or his memories become a little bit more clear of the planet he's on. His dad seems like a prick, making him bury. I thought it was the dog at first. I was like, oh, that's not good. But the memory he has is there is another piece to the artifact. It seems to be the hole where that specific key goes into, right? We don't know what it does yet. Probably, I would imagine, charts a map to where Halo is. That's my guess right now. But
and Luke Skywalker's location.
And Luke Skywalker's location, right? Hopefully he's drinking. What's the milk that Luke drinks?
That was in his little vial on his back.
Yeah,
the blue milk, the walrus milk.
Yeah. So that sets up, where we're going next episode. They're going back. Cortana helps him find the planet that he's from that he doesn't remember, right? Because of the brainwashing, right? And Halsey basically demands to go with him, setting up hopefully maybe not the end of the flashbacks, right? But like a little bit more closure on what actually this is going to show. And I think that's how the episode ends. Let me double check quick, but I don't know, gents, any thoughts on those revelations at all?
There was one moment that I want to call out where he's back in his armor, not his helmet yet, but he's and Halsey's like, what are you doing suited up? And I felt offended by that. And I was like, that's what I want. And now you're like saying like you shouldn't be suited up. And it's like, come on, this is Halo.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like there was a slap in my face. Like I was like, come on.
Yeah.
That's who he should be.
Yeah.
He should always be wearing that.
What we've been hoping for. Like, no, that's a good call. That's a thematic, like, yeah.
Though, do you think that the naked scene with Chief, do you think that was to draw a parallel between him and McKay? Because she had a naked scene.
She had a naked scene too. Yeah.
Last episode.
I think in a heavy-handed way, like the show is doing, it was like he's bare, he's raw. This is who he wants to become. He wants to be born again into who he actually is. I'm sure there was some thematic reasoning there. But the other thing I missed was that Quan is trying to restart Soren's ship to go back to Madrigal, and he finally agrees. And he's like, well, I'm going to get paid either way. In the classic mercenary take, he's like, you got a bounty and we're either going to take back Madrigal or I'm going to turn you in. So I don't know what they're doing with Soren. Like I said, I don't care. I really don't care about that storyline. I think this show shows potential when it's Chief and now Cortana. Like that relationship, they played off each other well. And I thought Pablo did a good job, buying into that relationship, right? And I thought the banter between them was good. I want to see more of that, and hopefully we focus more on that. So
the only payoff I'll accept with Soren is if their ship takes off and they just slowly get sucked into a sun, and the whole time you just hear them screaming, and you just see their ship getting smaller and smaller. It's like a 5-minute just screaming, and then just like a little poof explosion, and then.
That
credits.
Is the darkest thing I think I've ever heard you say. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm just done with them. Let's move on.
Right. Yeah.
I want to know more about Chief's crew, what they're dealing with, because you get looks at them every once in a while, like they're not cool with what's going on.
Yeah.
They're worried about them.
Right.
Let me know them more. Yeah.
Yeah. I want more. I feel like the last 2 episodes have been devoid of any action, basically, outside of the hunter scene, and I feel bad. I'm like, oh, where's the gunplay and the action? But it's like that is what Halo is. It is bombast and space epic, and we've had 2 episodes straight of melodrama at this point, basically 3 outside of the first scene of Madrigal. So I really need them to focus, but even I will take as many cut to visor scenes as you want. Just give me some fights against the Covenant, for God's sakes. So I can't.
Yeah, we missed the first person moments now that we didn't like the first time. Now it's like, bring them back.
Yeah. So we'll see, right? I think I missed some things like Quan or Make is going to Madrigal. I think did I miss anything else?
There's hope still, I think.
Right.
Like, I think we're getting through the mucky muck of just emotions and trying to create these characters and show why you should care about them.
Mm-hmm.
And now maybe we'll get to the conflict.
Maybe?
Question mark?
10
Yeah.
episodes, right?
I think it's 9.
Oh,
9.
geez, that's a
So
lot.
we're a third of the way through here. Let me triple check, but yeah, 9 episodes. So
Okay. Thank God.
For what it's worth, IMDb has this rated as the best episode. I think I tend to agree with that.
I
Just
think I would
to
take
like
the
the first one.
episode.
first one still.
But it's because we had like a good like fight in
Right.
it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like I'm all for drama and humanization, but it has to be done well. Done well yet. So we will see. I'm sure I missed something. Viewers, listeners, let us know. I'm not willing to give up on the show yet. Just because
Same.
I want to see with Cortana and Chief what's going on. And frankly, I love spending my Fridays talking to the both of you about Halo.
Aww.
So it's a good time. So any parting thoughts before we wrap things up here?
Yeah,
No,
it's
no.
up and up from here still.
Just keep going up. It
You know,
was
it was a tick up.
yeah.
from last episode,
Things
so
did
let's-
get better. It couldn't get
Yeah.
worse, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hopefully, episode 2 was rock bottom.
Yes, and then we can just skyrocket from here. Because like I said, there's shows that start off bad and get a lot.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see. Yep.
But thank you all for listening, for watching. If you have more feedback for us, let us know. We're having a lot of fun doing this. We still have more episodes to go, but start thinking about the future and what you want us to do more discussions on and stuff. But be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your subscriptions and reviews help a lot, especially on Apple Podcasts. So be sure to let us know what you think over there. And we appreciate y'all for listening. So enjoy Halo, right? Go play Infinite. Season 2 is almost here. And we'll be back next week with our review for episode 4. So until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.